Hi everyone, welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie and we are reading the Bible cover to cover. Today we are on day 51 and we'll be starting out with Exodus chapter 1, Job chapter 24, Luke chapter 23, but we're only going to be reading verses 1 through 25 today. And then we'll close out the day with Psalm 37, verses 14 through 26. I hope you're doing fantastic today. Today is a really great day over here. It's a little wonky with some weirdness going on, but it's not getting me down. We're gonna have a good day today. So let's start the book of Exodus. For those of just joining us, we have completed the book of Genesis, the book of Ezra, the book of Nehemiah, and one of my most favorites, the book of Esther. So if you're just joining us today and are curious about the other books, feel free to hop on back onto the other videos and have a listen. If you just feel you don't have the time, don't worry about it. Your day can start today, and then when we finish the 365, then you can just finish on the 1 to 51. So let's get started. Exodus chapter 1. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All the souls who came out of Jacob's body were 70 souls, and Joseph was in Egypt already. Joseph died, as did his brothers, and all that generation. The children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who didn't know Joseph. He said to his people, "Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let's deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it happen that when any war breaks out, they also join themselves to our enemies and fight against us and escape out of the land." Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. They built storage cities for Pharaoh, Pithom, and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread out. They started to dread the children of Israel. The Egyptians ruthlessly made the children of Israel serve, and they made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and in brick and in all kinds of service in the field, all their service in which they ruthlessly made them serve. The king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew wives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, "When you perform the duty of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them on the birth stool, if it is a son, then you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live." But the midwives feared God and didn't do what the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the baby boys alive. The king of Egypt called for the midwives and said to them, "Why have you done this thing and saved the boys alive?" The midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women aren't like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them." God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very mighty. Because the midwives feared God, he gave them families. Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, "You shall cast every son who is born into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive." Do we all know where this is going? If you're educated in Sunday school, you may recognize that river and what might be coming up next. But for today, we'll move on to Job 24. Trying to figure out who might be talking here. I see quotations. We're going to assume this is continued on from chapter 23 while Job is talking, but this is chapter 24. Why aren't times laid up by the Almighty? Why don't those who know Him see His days? There are people who remove the landmarks. They violently take away flocks and feed them. They drive away the donkey of the fatherless, and they take the widow's ox for a pledge. They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth all hide themselves. Behold, as wild donkeys in the desert, they go out to their work, seeking diligently for food. The wilderness yields them bread for their children. They cut their food in the field. They glean the vineyard of the wicked. They lie all night naked without clothing and have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains and embrace the rock for the lack of shelter. There are those who pluck the fatherless from the breast and take a pledge of the poor, so that they go around naked without clothing. Being hungry, they carry the sheaves. They make oil within the walls of these men. They tread wine presses and suffer thirst. From out of the populous city men groan. The soul of the wounded cries out, yet God doesn't regard the folly. These are of those who rebel against the light. They don't know its ways, nor stay in its paths. The murderer rises with the light. He kills the poor and needy. In the night he is like a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waits for the twilight, saying, no eye will see me. He disguises his face. In the dark they dig through houses. They shut themselves up in the daytime. They don't know the light. For the morning is to all of them like thick darkness, for they know the terrors of the thick darkness. They are foam on the surface of the waters. Their portion is cursed in the earth. They don't turn into the way of the vineyards. Drought and heat consume the snow waters, so does Sheol those who have sinned. The womb will forget them. The worm will feed sweetly on him. He will be no more remembered. Unrighteousness will be broken as a tree. He devours the barren who don't bear. He shows no kindness to the widow. Yet God preserves the mighty by his power. He rises up who has no assurance of life. God gives them security, and they rest in it. His eyes are on their ways. Yet they are exalted, yet a little while, and they are gone. Yes, they are brought low. They are taken out of the way of all others, and are cut off as the tops of the ears of grain. If it isn't so now, who will prove me a liar and make my speech worth nothing? All right, moving into Luke 23, 1 through 25. Someone came to class not prepared. But look at me go. I'm ready. Here we go. 23, 1 through 25. The whole company of them rose up and brought him before Pilate. They began to accuse him, saying, We found this man perverting the nation, forbidding paying taxes to Caesar, and saying that he himself is Christ, a king. Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He answered him, "So you say." Pilate said to the chief priests and the multitudes, "I find no basis for a charge against this man." But they insisted, saying, "He stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, beginning from Galilee even to this place." But when Pilate heard Galilee mentioned, he asked if the man was a Galilean. When he found out that he was in Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem during those days. Now when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly glad, for he had wanted to see him for a long time, because he had heard many things about him. He hoped to see some miracle done by him. He questioned him with many words, but he gave no answers. The chief priests and the scribes stood vehemently accusing him. Herod with his soldiers humiliated him and mocked him. Dressing him in luxurious clothing, they sent him back to Pilate. Herod and Pilate became friends with each other that very day, for before that they were enemies with each other. Pilate called together the chief priests, the rulers, and the people, and said to them, "You brought this man to me as one of the perverts of the people, and behold, having examined him before you, I found no basis for a charge against this man concerning those things of which you accuse him. Neither has Herod, for I sent you to him, and see, nothing worthy of death has been done by him. I will therefore chastise him and release him." Now he had to release one prisoner to them at the feast. But they all cried out together, saying, "Away with this man! Release to us Barabbas, one who was thrown into prison for a certain revolt in the city and for murder." Then Pilate spoke to them again, wanting to release Jesus. But they shouted, saying, "Crucify, crucify him." He said to them the third time, "Why? What evil has this man done? I have found no capital crime in him. I will therefore chastise him and release him." But they were urgent with loud voices, asking that he might be crucified. Their voices and the voices of the chief priests prevailed. Pilate decreed that what they asked for should be done. He released him who had been thrown into the prison for insurrection and murder, for whom they asked, but he delivered Jesus up to their will. Can you believe that? 3 times the government said no. 3 times the government said no. 2 enemy governments came together and started talking with each other. Both governments said no. And who prevailed against Jesus Christ? The church. Moving on, Psalm 37. Thirty-seven, 14 through 26. The wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and the needy, to kill those who are upright on the path. Their sword shall enter into their own heart. Their bows shall be broken. Better is a little that the righteous has than the abundance of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but Yahweh upholds the righteous. Yahweh knows the days of the perfect. Their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be disappointed in the time of evil. In the days of famine, they shall be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish. The enemies of Yahweh shall be like the beauty of the fields. They will vanish like smoke. The wicked borrow and don't pay back, but the righteous give generously. For such as are blessed by him shall inherit the land. Those who are cursed by him shall be cut off. A man's steps are established by Yahweh. He delights in his way. Though he stumble, he shall not fall, for Yahweh holds him up with his hand. I have been young, and now am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his children begging for bread. All day long he deals graciously and lends. His offspring is blessed. God is good. God is good. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic day today. Please join me again for tomorrow for day 52. And if you could be so kind to remember to subscribe if you are not already subscribed, and hit the like button if you like the videos, and above all, share them for those who may need to hear the Word of God. Thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.